and record. Very good. Very good. Hello, Patty. We are live on Zoom and Instagram this evening. Facebook doesn't seem to want to connect. So it's going to be you and I on Zoom and Instagram. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's live stream. It's an awesome topic. The topic is how stress impacts your health and your weight, because it absolutely directly impacts our health and our weight. So often we think that our weight loss or the weight on our body or our health just has to do with our food and nutrition. And you know, if you're like I was 14 years ago and beyond, we get into this rut that says, I should just be doing this. Well, this is happening in my body because I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. And absolutely, there are always components and pieces, the things that we could be doing, should be doing, ought to be, want to be doing that we're not doing. And we think to ourselves, sometimes I'm not strong enough, or I don't have enough willpower, or there's something actually wrong with me when there's really not. Stress is such a huge impact, has such a huge impact on our health and our weight, which I'll dive into this evening. A little less about how to change it per se. We'll save that for another one, or you could join us here at New Area Weight Loss. And for our next group, we have our next New Area Weight Loss group starting the beginning of June. And you don't have to live in Phoenix, Arizona, because we do have a Saturday opportunity where you can join us online. So I'll mention more of that. You can always go to newaria.com/weight loss and join us for the group. There are spots left in group. It's going to be a wonderful way to move forward. The biggest differentiation here at New Area and New Area Weight Loss is that we don't just believe we know. This is 14 years of my own experience, my own development as the founder and creator of the New Area Method and New Area Weight Loss, is that behavior change is really just the symptom, and thinking ultimately is the cause. And this does play into stress because it is our thoughts that drive our emotions. This right here, as most of you, a lot of you know, I think it's shown in both screens. Yeah, you see, here's your physical habits and behaviors, and here's your thoughts, which create your emotions, which create your behaviors. This is the New Area method. We'll come back to this a lot. So just remember, our thoughts create our emotions, which create our behaviors. And ultimately, thinking is what is the cause. Thinking is the cause. And behavior is merely the symptom of the thinking. And so many of us today, our mission here at New Area is to reduce the obesity rate in the United States. And ironically enough, we have more diets, we have more meal plans, we have more everything than we've ever needed before for weight loss. And as this industry continues to gain in popularity and make more and more money, our obesity rate is continuously going up. So I'm laughing in kind of this awe, if you will, because there's a problem here. There's a real problem here. And what I know for sure after 14 years is that weight loss has gone beyond the food. It's not just about the food, and it's not just about the exercise. I would go, now this is not everyone, but the majority of our clients, this is not everyone in the world, but our clients here at New Area Weight Loss are the ones that potentially, and I say this half jokingly, we could be nutritionists in ourselves. We know what's healthy for us. We know what to do. It's just a matter of actually doing it. And that's where, instead of really changing 998 things about our life on Monday and falling into chocolate cake by Friday, and just really being all or nothing with our behavior change. And if you really dig deep, this is on our website, it's in testimonials. People will say this, and your brain won't let you hear it if it's the first time you're hearing it, if you don't believe it. There is such a thing as effortless weight loss. There is such a thing as easier, more effortless behavior change. And we will work tirelessly every single day to make sure that you get there. Because really, the change in behavior, if you're over here trying to figure out how to change behavior without changing the original thought that drove the behavior, you're going to be running into a wall over and over and over again. So what we do is, yes, we help you change behavior. Yes, we help you clean up your food. But at the end, at the end of the day, it's about a change in your thinking. How do I change how I think to permanently change what I do, which creates my life circumstance? Now, so much of the New Area method and New Area weight loss revolves around stress stress and inflammation in the body. As a big overview, right, our thoughts create our emotions, which create our behaviors. Our thoughts create our emotions, which create our behaviors, and therefore life circumstance. Meaning, if I eat too much sugar, there's fat or inflammation on my body. Or if I don't work out, then, there's repercussions there. Maybe I'm tight. If I don't save money, then there's no money in my bank account. So my behaviors are creating that life circumstance. And once again, if I may repeat myself, so many of us, we just go straight into, the problem is we go straight into the how. How am I going to achieve this? How am I going to accomplish this? How am I going to do this? What else do I need to do? What else do I need to make happen right now? What's the plan? But the brain, as you'll learn with us, only has access to past experience. The brain only has access to past experience, which oftentimes, which is why all of our social media is dedicated to sharing with you what's possible. If we use the hashtag, it's possible. Because a lot of the times when the brain only has access to past experience, it is not a helpful tool in allowing you to create a new tomorrow. It is not a helpful tool in allowing you to, when I say the word effortless weight loss, as I just did, or effortless changes in your health, your brain doesn't allow you to hear that because it doesn't have past experience of that. And so oftentimes the biggest hindrance to moving forward with what we are wanting to achieve and accomplish, like effortless weight loss, is unbelievable to the brain, and we don't believe it's possible. And not believing it's possible is one of the most basic, foundational, soul-crushing systems of thought that are driving our emotions and therefore our behaviors. And sometimes what happens is this, what I call this 365-day syndrome, where we wake up in the morning, we make our coffee, we go to our emails, we maybe make the kids breakfast, and we go to work, and we do what we do during the day, and we come home and we make dinner, and maybe we go to the gym, maybe we don't, we go to sleep, watch TV, rinse and repeat, and it's 2020, and it's 2021, and it's 2022, and everything that we've wanted to accomplish is for naught, all because we didn't allow ourselves to use our faculties beyond where our brain can take us. So talking about stress and our health this evening. Here, I'm going to wrap this all up for you, whether that made sense or not. Stick around with us. Watch every single Tuesday. I'll be here with you every single Tuesday. I like to keep it to 30 minutes, but apparently I've been going a little bit longer, so we'll try and keep it to 30 minutes today. But come back every single Wednesday. Go to our YouTube channel. It's actually under me, under Maya. You can go to our Facebook page at New Aria Weight Loss and learn more about what's possible. If we haven't met each other before, my name is Maya. I'm a behavioral registered dietitian, the creator of the New Aria method and the founder of New Aria Weight Loss. And I've always been looking for a better way in my life. If you know my story, I want to share my whole story with you, but I've been upwards of 200 pounds. Food was love. I grew up in a Lebanese household, so food was love. And in my later years, after I had maneuvered through weight and experienced changes in my weight, the ups and downs of that in the mind, then I had fallen into burnout as a younger entrepreneur, just starting a business out of corporate in 2012. And I was diagnosed with prediabetes, anxiety, and depression, and went on medications for a lot of them. And the weight started to come back on. And I say this because it moves into this place tonight here that we're talking about how stress impacts your health and your weight. And if there's anything, anytime that I come to you, anytime that we have conversations, and please, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comment section or anywhere that you're in the Zoom or Instagram. We're unable to hook up with Facebook tonight, so please feel free to share. Is that there's, I share my story with you just so you know that this goes beyond the food. It goes beyond what you think you're just not doing. I would just, in my mind, I would beat myself up so often thinking, if I just did this, what's the matter with me? Why can't I just take this on? Why can't I just do this? And I'm here to tell you that there's an easier way. I'm here to share with you this evening. When we talk like this every Wednesday and we communicate over email and if we connect on social media, know that all of our interactions are to gain awareness. Awareness, awareness, awareness. That's my single most important intention for you right here, right now, is to gain a higher level of awareness for yourself, your habits in your life, and what may be in the way habitually of that gap between where you're at and where it is that you want to be. And tonight, in terms of stress, I've experienced firsthand in my life how stress impacts our health directly, beyond the food, beyond the vegetables that we may not be eating enough of, beyond the water that we may not be drinking enough of, beyond the exercise that you may not be doing enough of, right? Beyond all of that, stress plays such a crucial role. I have watched, it's on my Facebook page, or I'm sorry, it's on my YouTube page, the YouTube channel, just Maya Nara. And it's posted on our Facebook page in a video form. I think it's on our Instagram page as well. And there's a client we're working with who had some past trauma, lots of stress, and her C-reactive protein was extremely high. C-reactive protein is a measurement of inflammation in the body. And it was very, very high. And over time, as we're working within the Nuria methodology for her weight loss, the C-reactive protein has come down significantly, over 20 points, just in learning how to think differently to reduce the stress, anxiety, and depression that we're experiencing habitually in emotion. So allow me to explain, if you're just joining us, this is really what we're chatting about this evening. This is the Nuria method, is that our thinking, our habits of thought, create our emotions, which create our behaviors, and therefore over here our life circumstance. If you want a photo of this, feel free to email us at hello@nuaria.com. You can email me at maya@nuaria.com. Maybe we'll post it for you too. It's the Nuaria method. If you go to nuaria.com/weight loss, which PS, you will find that we're enrolling for Nuaria weight loss group happening the beginning of June. Our next group is starting the beginning of June. You'll see that on the page too. So where does stress come from? You're all here because you're experiencing stress, and how does it impact your life? I want you to know that stress, what is stress? Stress is a reaction, an emotional, habitual reaction to the thoughts that we're thinking, and it can have a body reaction over time. For the majority of us, myself included, when I had hit burnout, is that stress is as easy as brushing our teeth. It's as easy to go be stressed out as it is for us to brush our teeth. And when we get to that place, what happens is fight or flight in the body, which I'll explain to you, it really becomes this low-grade state of fight or flight on a regular, habitual basis. And our body is not meant to stay there for too long. It's not meant to stay in a heightened state, a response state to stress for too long, but we do. And what happens is we end up living with this state of stress that we adopt as normal. We think that it's normal. We don't know what a state of not being in stress or not being in fight or flight is. It's very common over the past 14 years that when someone really starts down the path of learning how to think differently and start inviting in calm and more peace into their life, that fight or flight response goes down. Weight loss happens naturally, easily, and effortlessly because a lot of the weight on our body is due to inflammation. Then we start getting better naturally. I hesitate because something really interesting happens, and I've seen this for years, and I've experienced it myself. You'll get this. You'll get this intuitively. I think you'll get this, but there's a science-based background to it too. Is that we know what we know, and that's what we know, and what we know is safe. What we know is stress. If stress is this regular habitual state for us, and that's what we know, then anything outside of stress is uncertain, unnormal, weird, unknown, and we don't like the unknown. The brain does not like the unknown. The brain is wired for safety and survival. So let's back up for just a second, as I physically back up for you. So here's Maya, here's her brain. Here's you, here's your brain. We're not our brain. 101, we're not our brain. The brain inside of our head is a wonderful tool. It has 70,000 thoughts in a day. That's a lot of thoughts. And those thoughts, they fall under categories of thinking. Perfectionism, all or nothing thinking, catastrophic thinking, obsessive thinking, overthinking, all or nothing thinking, trying to control things that I can't control, telling stories that are not true. What else am I missing? drama queenisms, identity attachment, analysis paralysis. These are all kinds of habituations in thought. Now, if you and I, we have two different lives, right? So say we have two different jobs, we have two different types of families, but you and I, because we have 70,000 thoughts in a day, those thoughts can fall under these categories of, say, overthinking, right? You and I can both be overthinkers. Although those individual thoughts, because we have 70,000 of them, although those individual thoughts, they sound differently, but you and I can both be overthinkers. And if you and I are overthinking things on a regular basis, it's going to cause stress or frustration or overwhelm in our lives. Our thoughts create our emotions. Our thoughts create our emotions. And if I am such an overthinker, and overthinking is such a habitual, easy, and effortless way in my life, then you know what? So is its subsequent emotion. So allow me to ask you for a second, and you can put this in the chat box. You can put this on Instagram. We're not on Facebook tonight because we couldn't connect to it, but put this somewhere in the comment section. And I want you to get real detailed, real specific with yourself. Is why are you stressed? Where does stress come from in your life? Where does stress come from in your life? Why are you stressed? Now, as you start typing your responses, allow me to guide your answer just a little bit here. Know that if you were to say, well, my schedule, right? Your schedule is just a fact. Your schedule doesn't stress you out. What is it about your schedule that stresses you out? Is it the thought that says, oh my gosh, I can't get this all done? What is it thought-wise that actually stresses you out? If there's anybody that wants to share, just put them in the comment section, Instagram or Zoom here. What is it about your thoughts that stress you out? So my stress is coming from my thinking, my habitual thinking. Now, most commonly, so good rule of thumb, if my thoughts predominantly habitually exist in the future, trying to control things I cannot control, trying to be perfect with things, trying to manage uncertainties into place and create plans, that creates a lot of stress and anxiety. If my thoughts predominantly exist in the past, replaying, obsessive thinking, that can create a lot of sadness / anger, depression, hopelessness, and despair. So my thoughts in this moment, right, produce something very different, which is a big goal that we work with here in the New Area method, New Area weight loss. So what is it in your life that stresses you out? And facts are just facts, right? It's just a schedule. It's just a red light. That's just a fact, right? It's whatever it is. It's just a car that broke down. It's just a thing, right? That's just the stress from trying to, hi Jacqueline, stress from trying to have plans where they can't be controlled. Trying to have plans in the future that trying to control things in the future and create plans for them. I'm assuming maybe that's what you mean, is things in the future that you cannot control, but having plans in place to, I'm going to use the word illusion on you, trying to have the plans in place where it seems like you can control them, and it makes you think like you can, it makes you feel a little bit better, right? It calms down the stress because I have those plans in place, whether they're going to work or not. And essentially what happens is that tends to be a lot of excess mental, physical, and emotional energy that is put out simply because we're trying to control things that we can't control, all because we think that the stress is real. Now, here's your brain. The brain has 70,000 thoughts. Those thoughts fall into specific categories. If I'm overthinking, trying to control things I can't control, be a perfectionist at different things, that's going to create a lot of stress. This is what Jacqueline's talking about. So that's going to create a lot of stress for me. And the stress response in my body, the stress that I'm experiencing, is because of my habitual thinking. It's a really great brain dump. Brain dump is something we do with you that says just anything that comes out of your thinking mind when you're feeling hard, is you brain dump it. You brain dump, why am I stressed? And something's going to happen when you brain dump this. In our course, in the How to Think course, in New Area Weight Loss that we take you through, our students learn that rationalization is what comes in first for us. well, here's why I'm stressed out, but here's why I shouldn't be stressed out, and here's why everything's going to be okay, even though I'm really stressed out and I don't feel like everything's going to be okay, but it makes me feel a tiny bit better, then I rationalize it away. Rationalization is a really powerful tool of the mind that says, okay, well, here's why it's all going to be okay, but right underneath the surface, stress is still there. Stress is still there, stress is still active, even through the rationalization. So when I ask you, why are you stressed out? You don't want to rationalize that. You want to move beyond rationalization and even be irrational in your thinking. Because being irrational in your thinking and doing the brain dump and asking yourself the real reasons why you're stressed out will allow you to start identifying your thought habits. That's what we call your thought habits. And remember, I said that what we're doing tonight, this evening, is all around awareness, because you can't change a behavior unless you know you're in a behavior. You can't change stress unless you know you're in stress. The problem is that so many of us are in stress, and it's a low-grade state of it. It feels normal, easy, and effortless. It has become a part of our life that is affecting our health, and we don't even realize it. And so when you can start to expand your awareness as to where is the stress coming from, what are the thoughts creating the stress, this will help to increase your level of awareness. Now, something else to know about the brain and how it directly impacts your body when it comes to stress is that, right, here's her brain, here's you, here's your brain. The brain is a wonderful tool inside of our head, wired for safety and survival. And there's only 2 mistakes that long ago man could have made. Only 2 mistakes. He could have thought that there was a tiger in the bushes when there was no tiger in the bushes, and then he gets stressed and anxious. But he's okay. He's all right. He just gets stressed and anxious because he was, fearful for his life. But he's okay. And then the second mistake he could have made is that he could not think that there was a tiger in the bushes and just be kicking back and relaxing when there is a tiger in the bushes, and then he dies. So his 2 options really are stress and anxiousness or death. So right now, everything is a problem. Everything is a problem, and we have to go solve that problem, right? That's a second level to our discussion this evening. So if I'm running from a bear, if I'm running from a saber-toothed tiger, if I'm actually engaged in the long-term fight, or if I'm actually engaged in fight or flight because I'm running for my life, then I have a short-term stress response. Right? So if there actually is a tiger in the bushes, we'll come back to the other option if there isn't. But if there actually is a tiger in the bushes and I'm running for my life, then the stress response in the body is that I get more blood sugar, stored blood sugar from the liver and the muscles. It starts, and you start getting it into the bloodstream because I have to run faster. I need more energy. My blood pressure starts to go up. Everything happens with my eyes, and I start seeing much more sharply and clearly, and there's a whole bunch of responses in the body that start to happen. Now, at the same time, when I'm running for my life, I can't stop to go to the bathroom. I can't stop to eat, so my digestive processes slow down. These are all responses of the fight or flight. Now, when I'm not running for my life, I can rest. And at that moment, then I can get my fuel stores back up, because I just used all my fuel stores, all my glycogen stores, all my sugar stores. Now I can calm down, I can eat, I can rest, and I can digest. The problem is that the body has not known, the mind has evolved, and the body doesn't know the difference between running from a bear, a box full of emails, and a red light when you're late. It has the same exact response. Now, if you add trauma to the mix, trauma in high stress situations, from any trauma from when we were young to car accidents to anything else that could be considered trauma. When we add all of that, we're adding on this fine layer of low-grade stress, of low-grade state of fight or flight on a consistent and regular basis. The body was not meant to stay in a low-grade state of fight or flight on a regular basis. And so it responds through high blood sugar, it responds through inflammation, it responds through improper digestive functionality. It responds through all of these things that happen when we're in fight or flight mode. And then we want to go and lose weight on top of that. When in actuality, what is a priority of the body is to get out of fight or flight. And oftentimes, some of you may be, and it's not all of you, but some of you may be hearing this and saying, I'm not stressed, I'm not stressed. And we've heard this from many people before. You may not feel stressed because it may be your state of normal. So let me ask you this. Have you been on a vacation? Can you remember the last time you've been on a vacation where has there been a moment in your life? Now, some of you honestly may not have this, and some of you may, and that's okay. I want you to think of a time, if you've had this before, where you're on a vacation. You don't have an agenda. You've slept in. There's nowhere you have to be. Everything that you have, food-wise, shelter-wise, everything's there and everything's okay. And maybe that's been at a beach. Maybe it was around a campfire where you were having fun with your friends and the fire was crackling and the stars were above. Can you remember that level of peace and calm? Can you remember that level of peace and calm? And what I want you to know is that level of peace and calm that you feel in the body, that you feel in your mind, that you feel in your heart. This is your natural state. This is your natural state. There are two pieces to the New Area Weight Loss Program where we help you to think differently, because thinking is the cause and behavior is just the symptom. But what we do with your symptoms is say the body is a fat burning machine. The body knows what to do. The body knows how to get back to good. The body is neutral. The body knows how to get back to good. This is you right here. This is your whole natural healthy state. And what happens with weight is there's deviations. There's deviations from your best weight, from your best body, from your healthiest body. There's deviations. And the behavioral component, what our health coaches do with you is to correct deviations, deviations in blood sugar, deviations in digestion, deviations in nutrient deficiencies, deviations in stress. Stress is a deviation. Not sleeping is a deviation, right? Stress is simply a deviation. And when we correct all deviations and come back to our natural state, stress is a huge one, meaning we correct stress as a deviation in itself, and you will see weight loss just by calming down. If you've ever, it's very common if you have a weekend where you don't have much on the agenda for the weekend and you just sleep in, like you just allow yourself to sleep. Like maybe you might even get 9 hours of sleep or 10 hours of sleep. And you're just, there's, no parties or anything like that in terms of friends or drinking or things like that. But you relax, you have a weekend of relaxation. And even if you ate a cookie, even if you ate bread, even if you had a glass of wine, even if you had chocolate, right? Those are all my favorite things. That's why I just mentioned them. So even if you have all of those things, come Monday morning with your rest and relaxation, I dare you to do this. Maybe not all of those foods together, but weigh in Monday and you weigh less, because inflammatory weight is a real thing. Inflammatory weight is a real thing. And what happens is very interesting here too. As you begin to correct the deviation of stress, because now you know how stress impacts your health and your weight. Now you have the answer. It impacts your health and weight because it is a prolonged state of fight or flight that is low grade, that is happening every single day, from being late at red lights to box full of emails to trying to, now I'm going to go just a little bit further here with you for a second, right? Trying to control things in the future that we can't control because I fear failing. So I try and control everything into place so I don't have my biggest fears come true, right? Fears in themselves, which are repetitive thought patterns, which were not our thoughts, they're just our thoughts. Those are in themselves stressful as well. Sometimes most of the time, what's causing our biggest stress is us running from ourselves, especially when it comes to our repetitive thinking. And something interesting happens when you invite in more peace and when you invite in more happiness and you start to reduce your stress. I started to go down this path with you when we first jumped on today. And that something interesting says this, is that now, the brain is, as it's wired for safety and survival, it also likes sameness and certainty, because that's safe. Sameness and certainty to the brain is considered safe, and anything outside of that is not. So if I grew up in a house and I did not leave this house, then if I were to step outside of this house, there are many dangers outside of this house. At least that's what my brain would say. You've survived your whole life inside of this house. Why would you want to go outside? It's like your whole life, if you only ate candy bars, and today, right here, right now, Wednesday night, I gave you an apple, you'd run off the webinar and livecast because an apple might kill you. In the same way, if your whole life you've only known stress, you've only known anxiety, you've only known depression, hopelessness, despair, anger, frustration, and overwhelm, and I give you a plate of peace and happiness, you're like, as bad as you want it, you know your stress, but you don't know happiness. You don't know peace. I'm making this up. I don't know what you know and what you don't know, but you get the point, right? We don't know peace. If stress is a habitual state of emotion for us, if it is as easy to go be stressed out as it is for us to brush our teeth, the moment that something happens in our life, stress is the initial habitual reaction. Then the moment that we start to learn how to think differently, to slow down that stress response and change the stressor in the response in the body for better health and for weight loss, then peace comes in. But if we haven't known peace, that can be a really scary place. And that's where, and I don't like the word, but that's where self-sabotage comes in, right? Because it's a state that I don't know. But slowly but surely, as you learn to think differently, that changes your emotional state. And as you learn to think differently, it changes your emotional state, and that ultimately drives your behaviors. That is why effortless change can happen when you learn how to think differently, because thinking is the cause and behavior is the symptom. And we're not here to treat symptoms anymore. You don't need to treat symptoms. Remember, it's not that you're not strong enough or you don't have enough willpower, that you failed multiple times before. You have everything you need. You are smart enough. You are strong enough. And it is possible. It simply requires you to learn how to do it differently by learning how to change how you think. That is going to be the bottom line. And I want you to know my intention, hopefully this evening for you today, was that your health and your weight are impacted via stress in a big way. The majority of the time, if we have fat on our body and stress in our hearts and minds, oftentimes the body also carries inflammation weight with it. It also carries inflammation weight with it. That's a real thing. And so if we carry inflammation weight with it from, say, if that manifests itself into poor digestion or to high blood sugars or high blood pressure, these are all deviations from your body that knows what to do, this neutral state that is a fat burning machine. And when we bring it back to neutral and correct deviations, even in thought, then it will do what it needs to do. And stress is such a huge part of that. So I would encourage you, what's your next best step? Yes, it is possible. Amen, hands. That's my favorite emoji. So it is possible, knowing that the first step that you can take coming out of here this evening says this. And you know what? In fact, if you really want to, if you're really serious about this, feel free to email it to us, hello@newaria.com. Feel free to email it to us. The question that I want you to ask yourself is, why am I stressed out? Why am I stressed out? You can't change a behavior unless you know you're in a behavior. So we have to understand where the thoughts are, what thoughts are creating your stress, okay? So now when I ask you the question of why am I stressed out, you can't give us facts. Well, my schedule's full. That's just a fact. Your two people's schedules could be full. That would stress one person out and not another. Why is it stressing you out? Because of it's what you're thinking. And remember, no rationalizations, just dump it. Dump it. What is stressing me out? Just dump it. Now, once you learn what your habituations and thinking are, knowing that you are not your thoughts and you can change your thoughts to ultimately change your habitual emotions, then you want to start tapping in and tuning into, how do I feel? Am I stressed out? Am I stressed? Remember, we don't know that we're stressed out because it's such a low-grade state of stress. And so we can start to ask ourselves, just you take 24-hour period and start to ask yourself, let's say every 3 hours, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Feeling and thinking, these are two different things, two different faculties. And oftentimes we live in a thinking world, and so tapping into how we feel is not very common. This is nothing new to you. Potentially, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but this is nothing new to you that we're not taught. We're taught how to feel. And so we run ourselves over with a dump truck very commonly. And I'm not stressed out. I'm not worried. I'm not frustrated. I'm fine. Everything's going to be fine. It's a temporary battle. So you just keep sweeping on the rug, and the rug gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So here at New Aria, we help you to, lessen that rug, lessen the fat that's been shoved under that rug. So when you brain dump what is stressing you out, you can then move into when am I stressed out? And when you're stressed out, that's when you have to move into a process that we use at New Aria called thought redirection, that says, how do I start thinking differently? How do I use techniques in neuroplasticity and brain science to understand that since I'm not my brain, I don't have to habitually think like it. You've heard the term, you don't have to believe everything you think, right? And the brain is just a tool inside of your head, and it is fantastic for developing plans and learning and understanding and creating this filing system for all of your past experience and all of this other good stuff, or memories and all of these good things. But oftentimes when we want to create something out of nothing, we can't use the brain. The brain is limited in nature. It only has access to past experience, and it wants to keep you safe and survive, which is a fantastic thing. But we have to make sure that we're using the right faculty at the right time. And that's really where a lot of your permanent health is going to come in. So that's all I have for you this evening. I want you to remember that your stress is impacting your health in a big, big way, and can add inflammatory weight to the body in a big way. And just by learning how to reduce your stress in the first place, that is a huge, huge component. And yes, it's in learning how to think differently, in slowing the momentum of your thinking. I hadn't mentioned this to you before, but if you think of like this upside down triangle like this first place that we all exist in our lives is a very high momentum place. In our thoughts, 70,000 thoughts, high momentum of thinking. This is a lot of spinning of thought. You can feel this is like high stress, high frustration, high overwhelm. And oftentimes what we say is we want to slow the momentum of your thoughts. I can't do lobotomy and take your brain out of your head, but we can slow the momentum of your thinking. We can slow the momentum of your thinking, and thought redirection and meditation, those are components, the tools in neuroplasticity that we teach you here at New Aria that helps you to slow the momentum, which brings you into the state of more peace and calm. And learning how to cultivate that is incredibly important, just to stop the spinning and stop the chaos, because that in itself is continuously producing the stress response, which is continually feeding into potentially so many of the health issues that you're having. So learning learning for me personally how stress affected my body, learning for me personally where my stress came from, where the stress came from that was unnecessary in my thinking, and how to change that. How to know in that moment that stress is coming up and what to do about it, how to slow that momentum in the moment. These are incredibly important tools that nobody really talks about in terms of helping you to lose weight in a big way and fast. So if you have not already, head to newaria.com/weight loss. Our group is starting our next group. It's a lower investment way to join the New Aria weight loss program, and it is starting the beginning of June. You do not have to live in Phoenix, Arizona to join us for that. We're very, very excited for it, and we hope that you will join us. So I'll take any questions if you guys have any questions on anything on Zoom and Instagram this evening. And my intention, of course, as I mentioned to you, is that I hope we have shed some light, some awareness. Awareness is a light. That's just how I think of it as awareness. Awareness is a light that you turn on in a dark room. And the moment you turn that light on, you can see everything. Because you can't change stress unless you know you're stressed. You can't change a thought habit unless you know you're thinking that thought habit over and over again. Stress, what happens oftentimes is just all-consuming nature. We just forget and we become. We just forget and we become. And you'll feel this for just a moment. This is such a big piece of what we teach for your long-term success. Maybe this will be the one thing you take away this evening is, can you feel the difference in this? Is I'm stressed out. I saw your question, Jacqueline. That's why I paused for a minute. The next topic, that's perfect. Why am I'm so stressed out? I'm stressed out. I'm frustrated. I'm stressed out. I am experiencing stress. I'm stressed out and I'm experiencing stress. You want to be here. When you learn to be here, you're now in control of it. And it's a whole different type of control because it's done by learning how to think differently. Carla, inflammation, weight, stress, brain dump, love it. Yes, yes, yes. Just know if you've been banging your head against the wall, let me look up what next week's topic is. Just know that if you've been banging your head against a wall when it comes to weight, when it comes to your health, even if it's not weight loss, just know that inflammation in terms of stress and how stress impacts your body, it is a real thing. And we don't give it as much airtime as it probably should. You know what? I changed this week's topic, and next week's might change too, because it tends to be what's important. But we'll always be here every single Wednesday. Next week's topic I have laid out as, do you know what you're wanting? Do you know what you're wanting? We might actually keep that. So next week's topic is, do you know what you're wanting? We got to close that gap. We take you from here to here. We close the gap between where you're at and where you want to be. And you can't get to where you want to be if you don't know what you're wanting. So, and oftentimes if you know what you're wanting, when we ask the question, what you're wanting, all we get in response in the very beginning is a whole bunch of what I don't want, which is not what you're wanting. So we'll chat a little bit about that next week, unless there is a topic that is more top of mind that comes in, which I can't promise that won't happen because that's what happened this week. I hope that this was enlightening for you in some way, and know this is that not only is it possible to reduce the stress in your life, but the stress is coming from your thoughts. And now you can start to understand, what is my habitual thinking? And when you learn that you're not your brain, you're not your thoughts, I can start to change my thoughts. You can get out of habitual stress, which will have a direct impact on your health. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your evening. I hope this was helpful for you. I will see you next Wednesday. Hopefully Facebook will be hooking back up with Zoom, so we will we'll try it next Wednesday. But every Wednesday night, 6 p.m., we'll be right here on Instagram, Zoom, and Facebook. Bye, guys. Have a great night.